Welcome to Capacity Building Stories Climate Action 101, a podcast brought to you by the Paris Commune on Capacity Buildings Network in partnership with the United Nations University. I'm Eva Costas, your host, and in this series, we're breaking down the essentials of climate action, 101 style. Join us as we explore key concepts related to climate change while connecting the dots between capacity building, research, policy, and practical solutions. Let's dive in. Welcome to CB Stories Energy Transition 101. In this episode, we're exploring the energy transition, how countries are working to build clean, resilient, and inclusive energy systems, and why strengthening capacity is key to getting there. Joining me today, I have the honor of being with two fantastic guests, Mr. Wang Peng and Ambe Emmanuel Cheo. Could the two of you please introduce yourselves to our listeners?
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's really a great pleasure to be part of this podcast. So my name is Ambe Emmanuel Cheo, and I work with the United Nations University. I am Associate Academic Officer and the interim team lead of the Pan-African Cooperation and Education Technology Division, called PACET in short. So thank you very much, and I wish to greet your listeners. Thank you.
Nice to meet you all. My name is Wang Peng, and I work for GEIDCO, in charge of capacity building activities of GEIDCO. It's a pleasure to join you today. Thank you.
Thank you both very much. And the pleasure is ours to really have you be part of the episode. Now, really jump right into the topic. So we know that as countries are working to meet their climate goals, the shift to cleaner energy has become one of the defining challenges, but also one of the defining opportunities of our time. So to start, Mr. Wang, what do we actually mean by the energy transition in the context of climate change and capacity building? And why is it such a critical piece of the global climate agenda right now?
Actually, energy transition is a systematic change. The global energy system shifts from a high carbon, high emission model, which is led by fossil fuels. It moves to a zero carbon, sustainable model. This new model is based on renewable and clean energy, which involves overall changes. It covers production methods, consumption patterns, technical paths, institutional systems, and even social culture. So energy transition is not just adjusting the energy structure. It's a systematic revolution that affects the future development of humanity. Promoting inclusive, just, and resilient development of the energy system is a necessary requirement for energy transition. Details are as follows. Inclusive transition emphasizes promoting energy transition with a systematic and open concept. It integrates multiple energy types, development models, and technical solutions. It speeds up the global development and use of clean energy. And just transition focuses on coordinating energy development with industry, employment, and social governance. It follows the principles of equality and win-win. It ensures that everyone can equally access sustainable energy. And then resilient transition aims to improve the innovation capacity and safety of the energy system. It enhances the ability of infrastructure to resist climate change and extreme weather events. This ensures the stability and security of energy supply. Energy transition has become a key part of the global climate agenda for the following main reasons. First is a core path to achieve carbon neutrality. Global greenhouse gas emissions mainly come from traditional fossil energy. The green transition of the energy structure is an important path to reach peak carbon emissions and achieve carbon neutrality. Energy transition can effectively help the world meet the temperature control goals set in the Paris Agreement and promote greenhouse gas emission reduction. Second, it's a key support for promoting sustainable development. Energy transition is not only about climate governance. It's also related to economic structure optimization, industrial upgrading, employment transition, and social equity. The development of clean energy can drive green investment, create new jobs, and improve energy security and accessibility. Third, it's an important driving force for technical revolution and institutional innovation. The rapid breakthrough in technologies such as digitalization, intelligence, new energy storage, and hydrogen energy provide new opportunities for the efficient operation and the low carbon development of the energy system. At the same time, innovations in energy governance, market mechanisms, and international cooperation are becoming the core force to promote the global energy system in reconstruction. In short, energy transition is not only about emission reduction and the environment, but also about energy security, a fair society, and economic recovery. It's a key part of the global climate agenda. Promoting energy transition is the only way to achieve carbon neutrality and build a green and low carbon future. The speed and quality of its advancement will directly determine the path to achieve the global carbon neutrality goal. The speed and quality of its advancement will directly determine the path to achieve the global carbon neutrality goal. It will also have a profound impact on building a climate resilient economic and social system. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all those wonderful insights, Mr. Wang. I think it's clear, like you mentioned just now, that the energy transition, it's not just about emission reduction, but it is a systemic evolution. That's how you refer to it. And really changing the systems within the operate and the people. And it also looking at the human development elements and hopes for really creating climate resilience. You also touched as well on the importance of capacity building when it comes to the energy transition. But I think the reality that we have to acknowledge is that countries do face real challenges when it comes to actually making this shift happen and this transition happen. So now going to you, Emmanuel, what would you say are the biggest capacity gaps that countries face as they move toward cleaner and more resilient energy systems?
Thank you very much for the questions. And the key capacity gap that we have seen since we have been working on this topic for quite some time now, the key capacity gaps that we have seen in advancing a gender just and equitable energy transition could be structured in three main levels, which could be a systemic gap. It could also be an institutional gap, but also at individual level. So when we talk about systemic level, many developing countries still faces fragile institutions and also limited enabling environment to implement a just energy transition. But beside that, also there is this lack of coherence between capacity building initiative in these countries and their national determined contribution, since often the goal is also to meet their climate commitment through their national determined contribution. And it's also important to highlight here that capacity building is one of the means of implementation. We have, under the Paris Agreement, we have three, which is financial resources, technology transfer, and capacity building is one of the means of implementation. So which makes it very important to ensure a just energy transition. So I talked about the systemic level, but then also at the institutional level, we have institutions like universities, NGOs, and other stakeholders or actors in this sector that lack stable financing, and also the technical expertise to develop or to ensure that the necessary skills and resources are available or are within their institutions to ensure that a just energy transition is fully implemented. Beside that, also often they lack the ownership of energy transition knowledge leading to their reliance on foreign consultants or short-term staff, which at the end it's not sustainable because this is not retained and cannot be transferred to the next generation of staff. So there is always this gap of lack of skills, retainment of capacity at the institutional level, but also the transfer of knowledge to the next generation of staff in the respective institution. Last but not the least, also, or one level of gap that we have also observed is at the individual level, which sometimes it's not sufficient. Even though a lot has been done in terms of different formats, workshop, training, but this is still insufficient, particularly when you think at the technical level or reskilling or upskilling, particularly on specific topics such as renewable energy technologies, energy efficient, or on solutions such as clean cooking, which include or which cover the broader topic of just energy when we talk about just energy transition. So these are still areas that are lacking these skills. However, there's ongoing initiative of capacity building, which I think bringing them together could make a difference by building individual capacity. But like I earlier mentioned, it's not enough to build individual capacity because once this individual leave the institution, then the institution goes back to the beginning. So we need to develop a mechanism whereby even though individuals' capacity are being built, it should be able to retain and ensure that it's transferred in the next generation of staff. Additionally, I think something which is also important to mention when we are talking about gaps on just energy transition or gender just energy transition is the aspect of gender and social inequality remains, which is an important aspect. Women and underrepresented group often lack access to decision making and also in the technical field. In some communities, women are not allowed to participate in technical field and also in professional development opportunities, particularly in the energy sector. I think these are things that we also need to pay attention when we talk about just energy transition to ensure that no one is left behind. It's an inclusive process. So the lack of a gender-sensitive approach to capacity building does not only reinforce inequality, but also risk excluding key agent of change, which in most community women play this role very very well. And finally, there is also the need to strengthen human capacity and innovation ecosystem locally. Locally here means in country to have enough human capacity, but also an ecosystem to rely on, avoiding dependence on foreign technology or low value employment, but instead foster a nationally led solution. So these are some of the key gaps that we have observed while working on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel, for that comprehensive overview. There's really so much to unpack. And just now, towards the end, you truly, really mentioned that for the energy transition to be truly just and inclusive, we do need to take into account the social inequality elements that affects it and really involve several agents of change that are a key part of this transition. But what I really enjoy is how you really broke it down amongst the individual, institutional, and systemic capacities and really showing that um, for the energy transition to be equitable and resilient, capacities need to be built for the ground up to really be retained, sustained, and transferred in the long term. So, moving into a bit of a more optimistic note, because we've looked at the challenges and the capacity gaps, but these also point to opportunities, right? And work that can be done to bridge them. So, what would you say, Emmanuel, are some promising solutions that are already out there that are helping bridge those gaps, and how is research guiding those efforts?
Thank you. I think it's a very important question. Yeah, like you rightly mentioned, even though there are gaps, but there are some efforts that are being done to bridge this gap. For example, research from initiatives such as the Impulse Out, which is being implemented by the United Nations University and Avina Foundation, an initiative that is funded by IGRC, a Canada-based organization, has highlighted the need for a structural shift away from fragmented ad hoc capacity building towards a more holistic, country-owned approaches that strengthen the national institutions and also foster South-South collaboration. Because in our work, we have observed that the challenges are the same, particularly in Southern countries. It's important for them to also have this a platform to exchange and learn from one another, so as to minimize costs and also leapfrog some stages of developing their respective solutions. There are also modalities that we in our work we have implemented, which is modalities such as community of practice, which enable different stakeholders from different regions to share lessons, also jointly develop innovative solutions, and collectively address energy transition challenges in a way that is context specific and inclusive. I think this last part is very important, that in designing your just energy transition plan or program, usually it should be context specific, since one solution cannot be applicable in all contexts. And secondly, also just to add and to build on different work that has been done, organizations or research output from the IPCC and also some work done by IRENA has helped also to strengthen some of this point, that reinforce that education, reskilling, and upskilling are very essential, as it empowers underrepresented groups such as women and marginalized groups. In our work also, we have used the training of trainers model developed within the initiative that I earlier mentioned, which is the Impulsar. And this helps to reflect this insight by equipping the trainers with practical tools and knowledge resources, supporting and promoting also this peer-to-peer exchange, so that they can learn from each other and develop inclusive and sustainable long-term solutions when it comes to in designing their plan for a just energy transition. So I think this approach design or foster sustainable ecosystem of capacity building rather than just one of intervention, because it is not only important to build capacity, but it's also important to retain it and also ensure that it could be transferred to the next generation of staff. And then lastly, a combination, I think also that a combination of research-driven knowledge, modalities such as the South-South cooperation or learning, the triple helix model of linking academia, industries, and government, and also take into consideration gender-sensitive approaches. I think all of such of different approaches coming together helps to create a multiplier effect, building institutional strength, enabling policy coherence, foster also innovation, and also ensuring that there is equitable participation in the just energy transition process. So these are the opportunities that I see going forward when we talk about just energy transition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel, for those wonderful examples. Some of those that I was able as well to witness the work through our partnerships through the years. And you mentioned towards the end as well, right? It's all about ensuring the sustainable ecosystem of capacity building, where all of these efforts can be scaled up. And you already mentioned as well at one point that in order for these efforts to really scale up, we need to build collective capacities and really doing this sort of multi-stakeholder approach, and that brings me bringing together countries, institutions, and various stakeholders to ensure that we accelerate to a just energy transition. So, on that note, now I go back to you, Mr. Wang. Looking ahead, how can collaboration and partnerships help scale up capacity building efforts to accelerate a clean, resilient, and just energy transition?
Thank you for the good question. Actually, this is just what we are doing now. I think that international cooperation and partnership play an important role. They not only help scale up capacity building efforts, but also speed up the transition to a clean, resilient, and inclusive energy system. Currently, the world faces dual challenges: climate change and energy security. The bottleneck in technology, funding, and capacity are becoming more prominent, especially in developing countries. Only through higher level and broader ranging cooperation can we truly advance the in-depth development of energy transition. In recent years, GEIDCO has leveraged its advantages, including its global work system, member network, and think tank research, to carry out capacity building training activities. These activities target various regions, especially countries in the global south. The training contents covers key areas, including energy planning, power technology, clean energy investment and financing, and project development. It provides important technical and policy support for energy transition in countries around the world. Up to now, GEICO has held more than 30 international training programs. These programs have covered over 80 countries. The number of trained participants has exceeded 10,000. This has significantly improved the dependent capacity and technical level of those countries in energy transition. All these training programs are co-hosted with our partners, including relevant UN agencies, regional organizations, and local governments. We deeply integrate international resources with local needs to achieve precise alignment. This ensures the relevance of training content and sustainability of results. It lays a solid foundation for long-term capacity building in recipient regions. On this basis, in May this year, GEIDCO and UNFCCC jointly established an energy cluster under the framework of PCCB. The group is committed to integrating global superior resources. It aims to build a cross-regional and cross-world. The group is committed to integrating global superior resources. It aims to build a cross-regional and cross-world collaboration platform. This mechanism brings together multiple forces, which include governments, international organizations, research institutions, and enterprises. It promotes knowledge sharing, experience exchange, and technical discussions. It also accelerates the pace of energy transition and climate action. The establishment of the energy cluster under the PCCB network is an important milestone. It marks the cooperation between GEIDCO and the UNFCCC. Next, the energy cluster will carry out work around the following four aspects. First, building a shared knowledge platform. A professional and open knowledge platform will be built. Partners will actively contribute experience, cases, and technical solutions on the platform. So this platform will provide examples and guidance for countries' practical operations. It will accelerate the gathering and flow of global wisdom. Second, expanding international cooperation networks. We need to deepen the partnerships which involve government agencies, international organizations, private sectors, and non-government organizations. This will form a networked collaboration system. On this basis, multi-level and multi-field capacity building projects will be jointly designed and implemented. Innovative cooperation mechanism will ensure the sustainability and effectiveness of the work. Third, focusing on key issues. The energy transition process is a large system. The energy cluster will focus on core areas, including clean power development, energy access, climate resilience enhancements and empowerment of women and youth. We will organize thematic activities and experience sharing events. This will promote the implementation and replication of innovative solutions. And fourth, strengthening support for the Global South. Special attention will be paid to the least developed countries and small island countries. Resources and project design will be tilted. This ensures that marginalized groups and countries can also effectively improve their energy transition capabilities and climate resilience. The priority support directly addresses the global capacity gap. It realizes a more equitable and inclusive development path. Looking ahead, GEIDCO will continue to play the leading role of the energy cluster. We'll deepen international cooperation, integrate and expand resources of the PCCB network, promote the continuous expansion of the scale of global energy transition capacity building. Through multi-party collaboration, GEIDCO hopes to build a global cooperation platform for energy transition capacity building, which will be open, inclusive, and shared. And we hope more and more forces will join us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wang, for highlighting the great efforts that GEICO is really leading, but then also on behalf of the UNU-VIE and the PCCB network, thanking GEICO as well for the partnership through the energy cluster and the support as its champion and pioneering force. We will surely be including some resources and more information on the energy cluster and how to join on the description box, as well as other case studies or initiatives like Emmanuel had already previously mentioned in Pulse South for our listeners to check out. But I think that takes it to the end of the episode. It's been a wonderful pleasure having you both in the episode today. Really appreciate you sharing all of your insights. And I think you both have made it very clear in today's conversation that once again, the energy transition is not just about emission reduction, but it's rather about strengthening the capacities, systems, and partnerships that make those shifts possible. So, once again, thank you immensely for your time and knowledge and expertise. But also, thank you to our listeners who tuned in. If you enjoyed this discussion, make sure that you don't miss other Climate Action 101 episodes. Thank you for listening. Thank you both again, and see you next time.